Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you. Thanks so much for joining us today. And thank you for everything you do by way of growing and learning and serving. Today, our presentation is entitled Reincarnation. Do we live again? Now, while the past is the most important, we need to learn in various ways from our experiences of the past. The weekly studies and exercises of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC allow us to go into deeper understanding of life and come to our own conclusions about such matters as whether we live again. In this matter, we'll consider the doctrine of reincarnation and deal with such questions as, what are signs of it? Does it make sense in terms of our need to learn? Is it part of the law of vibration and other laws? Do sacred texts refer to reincarnation and we miss the reference in them? These and related questions we'll deal with today. And thank you so much again for joining us. I want to share with you some images that'll help us on this concept of reincarnation and also prepare us for our meditation period. And by going deeper into meditation, we allow ourselves to have our contact with the deepest part of our nature. Rosicrucians refer to as the divine within or the master within, which can then help enlighten and illuminate us on all matters, including this doctrine of reincarnation. Now you'll see before you a most wondrous work of architecture built on a great mound on the island of Java in Indonesia. It's the great Buddhist stupa Borobudur. And it's quite befitting to mention it in terms of the doctrine of reincarnation. You'll notice that it has a fourfold plan. It's actually aligned to the four cardinal directions. So it's aligned with the movement of the sun. And actually, when you walk up into it, you'll see steps. You circumambulate it around it. And the lower levels include scenes from the past lives of Gautama the Buddha, stories of the Jatakas. So in a way, it's a wonderful depiction of how we learn and grow in life. But you go from the lower levels, which has a wonderful sculptures or sculptural program, to use a art historical term, as you rise up higher and higher into the structure, as you circumambulate around it. You move from the world of form, to the world of the formless. In that regard, I'll show you some scenes from it. Here, for example, is part of the sculptural program that's in among these alleyways as you go up. Here we see Gautama the Buddha. He's becoming a renunciant. He's gone out from the palace and he's seen more how life is. And it's made a very deep impression on him. He wants to learn and understand more, just as we do. Here he's shaving his hair, be it a renunciant, an ascetic. He's being assisted by his courtiers, or those who helped him in the royal court, as he let go of his palatial living. Ultimately, in rising up, we'll come here, there's the Buddha, or the awakened wonder, the enlightened one figure in a teaching posture, gone from the world of form to formlessness. He's passed through lifetimes, no longer needs to incarnate. Another way we can look at this great work of Borobudur, in a way it's depicting our own passage in life, our own great mission in life. On the right is what's referred to as the cosmological Buddha, Chinese Buddhist sculpture. The hands are missing, so we don't see the mudras or the sacred gestures that are depicted there, and so as well as the head. But we get the overall sense. And if you look closely, you'll see that inscribed on the monastic robe of Gautama the Buddha, as depicted in this work, these various scenes to do with the teachings of Buddhism. And even on the sleeves, there's scenes of Gautama the Buddha's earlier lives, just like they're depicted in the walls of the great Buddhist stupa. In both stupa and this depiction of the cosmological Buddha, both form a cosmic axis, rising up, of which the cosmos revolves about, and rising up from the spine of Gautama the Buddha, just as in our own spine, our world and our living revolves about us. We pass through incarnation after incarnation, growing, learning, evolving, coming into the enlightened, uplifted state. Inspired by these conceptions, let us have an actual experience of them and draw forward our own experience of these matters down through our decades and even earlier. I invite you, this time we'll apply instructions of the Rosicrucian instruction booklet, Liber 777. I'll give you a reference to it later in the presentation. Finish now to close your eyes. Take deep neutral breaths to the degree comfortable for you to breathe deeper. And just enjoy the great incoming and outgoing of the breath. In a way like the doctrine of reincarnation. The incarnating and then the withdrawing back the cosmic realm, prepared for the next incarnation. With each incoming and outgoing breath, you see how it models the law of correspondence for all actions through the great cosmic keyboard. I invite you to, if it's comfortable for you, to extend your exhalation longer than your inhalation. I think you'll immediately find something wonderful happens. There's the relaxation response. The great vagus nerve that we learn about in our weekly Rosicrucian lessons. It works with the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems of the autonomic nervous system. And there, with each extended exhalation, there's a building or cumulative effect. Relaxation, calmness, tranquility, equilibrium, equanimity, imperturbability. All these words have different aspects of the experience we're undergoing now. In mysticism, the most important thing is to have the first-hand experience. Then we can go more deeper into the intellectual experience in explaining it. But also through the first-hand experience, we can convey it to others. For as we've lived it, so we can demonstrate it. And this way we move from belief to knowledge to wisdom. Just enjoy the gentle rhythm of breath. Come increasingly into the autonomic balance. Feel the healing tonic effect. By healing, Rosicrucians mean to make whole. Just as through the successive lives, through reincarnation, we become more and more whole, more and more healed, more and more able to assist others in service to becoming healed and whole. These and many more other inspiring conceptions of what we're doing here in the temple of the earth, and why we're incarnated, come to us through our weekly lessons of the Rosicrucians and the intimations that come from deep within us during periods of meditation, such as now. Soon we'll ascend to the heights of the celestial sanctum. Following up on the great cosmic axis depicted in the great stupa we saw, and the wondrous sculpture of the cosmological Buddha. It has the name cosmological because it depicts the universe on it in the scenes in the great human journey in the light. It is also said that Gautama the Buddha, when he preached and taught, was often seen the cosmos all around him. So deep was his wisdom and infinity with all. Now, the Rosicrucian Order AMORC is not a religion, but we learn greatly from the great spiritual traditions of the world, such as we're doing now. And we begin our heights of the celestial sanctum, further apply what we're talking about today. I invite you to say with me the following prayer and invocation. May the divine essence of the cosmic fuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body. That I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. Now, just as Gautama the Buddha passed through those various earlier incarnations and was thereby purified, so we, by this invocation or breathing exercises, purify ourselves. Let us rise up to the cosmic axis, mirrored by our own spine in the holy temple of our body. I invite you now to use all your psychic capacity and imagination. Picture yourself rising up above the building or home, office where you are, up over your neighborhood, even your local geographic area, be a place in the countryside or a town or a city. Rise up over them now. See the system and order below. Enjoy the exhilaration of the ascent and move beyond our county where we dwell, even the province or state where we live, up over our great nation or country. And now moving faster and faster up over the continent where we dwell and even the hemisphere. And now even up above the beautiful blue jewel of the earth, the planet where we dwell. See the system in order as it revolves. There's a moon revolving about it, a great satellite. The earth rotating about its axis. See the seas, the landforms, the great weather systems. We'll look up and we'll faster and faster, transcending space and time, moving way beyond the speed of light, past the great elliptical orbits of the planets, past the great fiery ball of the sun, our local star, up into the heavens, past the nebulae and the myriad stellar phenomena, the quasars, the pulsars, black holes helping balance the universe, the great cosmic web, connecting the stars and the galaxies, past the rogue planets, the comets, the nebula again. Let us pass out from the great spiraling arm of our Milky Way galaxy and look back at it and see the wondrous order of it. Great spiraling arms and its movement about its central axis as we look up and move faster and faster beyond myriad stars and galaxies. Applying the law of correspondence as we rise up higher and higher into the cosmos. We go deeper and deeper into ourselves, as above, so below. As we move deeper and deeper in, come into the presence of the divine within, the great inner spiritual classroom that we learn in, from incarnation to incarnation. So we transcend space and time, let it go past centuries and the coming centuries, coming millennia, the past millennia. Enjoy the wonder and beauty, the great harmony of the spheres, the great system and order, the cosmos. We pass from the finite plane to the infinite plane, into a deeper and deeper appreciation and experience of the cosmic. The cosmic is a special term used by the Rosicrucians to mean the entirety of the system and order of the cosmos, all its natural and spiritual laws, and the universal intelligence back the cosmos and universe. Only is a beautiful philosophical concept, but an enriching, ennobling, and astonishing experience we're undertaking now to go higher and higher into the cosmic. I think you'll see soon as you pass the myriad galaxies, clusters of galaxies, superclusters of galaxies, the great cosmic axis spoken of since ancient times by mystics and philosophers. You'll sense the entirety of the universe rotating about that great cosmic axis. Just as our lives rotate about our cosmic axis, our spine, the holy temple of our body. As you move faster and faster, move towards the midpoint of this great cosmic axis and slow up when you reach it. And then just dwell the stupendous action of the cosmos all around you. The awe-inspiring view of it all. And when you're ready, we'll apply further instructions of the meditation book spoken of earlier, Liber 777. I invite you to visualize there your personal sacred space, your celestial sanctum. It may simply be the awe-inspiring sight of the cosmos all around you. Or it may be a temple back on earth, an inspiring nature to you. Or maybe a wondrous and uplifting scene in nature, such as a sacred grove, a high hilltop or mountaintop suggesting the vastness of the cosmic. Or by a seashore, lake shore, or ocean, by an ocean shore. The waves lapping in, the great expansive view over the body of water suggesting the infinitude of the cosmic and the experience of the cosmic consciousness. Our consciousness increasingly merging with the universal consciousness. Continue to fill in the sights and sounds, physical, psychic, and spiritual impressions of your personal celestial sanctum. Make it real, make it vital. You may wish to visualize others on this conference call and the Grand Lodge and Supreme Grand Lodge officers of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC, the visible and invisible masters. There's to picture stained glass windows or symbolic images depicting Rosicrucian mystical laws and principles. Incense rising up just like we rose up the heights of the celestial sanctum. As the incense rises up, its scent is of a highly spiritual nature, helping attune us with the cosmic and the divine within. As it rises up and disappears into the atmosphere, it symbolizes the law of transmutation, spiritualization of our nature now. And when you've completed your visualization, Release it through subconscious mind to the cosmic mind. You can say with me, it pleases the cosmic. It is done, so mote it be. And when you're ready, let us dwell in silence, the heights of the celestial sanctum, the center of your being, the center of the cosmos. Just feel all there is to feel. Whatever thoughts, impressions come to mind, answers to questions, just refocus on the breath and let go. Surrender to the divine within, the master within, our true guide in life through the incarnation, our great teacher and healer. The divine within. I invite you now to undertake a further spiritual operation of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC. Let us join with the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace to radiate love and well-being to all those who have petitioned the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC, for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those who petition the affiliated bodies of the Rosicrucian Order, AMORC, for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those you know who are in need of guidance and healing. And finally, let us radiate love and well-being to all sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. Let the radiations of love and well-being flow out from you like a great spotlight, searchlight, filling the cosmos from the depths of your being, depths of your mind and heart, flowing out at a great rapidity, just as we rose up to the heights of celestial sanctum. With great speed, let the radiation radiate out from you with great speed to all in need. At first, use great conscious effort from within, great spiritual force as an act of service. At a certain point, I think you will need longer need to make any conscious effort. The flow will continue through the action of the divine within. I think you'll find even the flow of love and well-being will even speed up, and you know you're reaching all in need. And when that happens, just continue to surrender to the experience. Soon we'll formally close this period of sending metaphysical aid, but we'll meditate a while longer. Assured that the radiations of love and well-being will continue from the depths of our being as a way of life, as part of our mission in life. So formally conclude this period, sending love and well-being, metaphysical aid. I invite you to say with me now, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. And let us dwell a while longer in the depths of meditation, continuing to surrender to the divine within. As we continue to meditate, I invite you to apply the law of assumption and the law of cosmic attunement. Being taken in the vastness, your celestial sanctum in the cosmos and of the cosmic. I invite you to expand your mind into the cosmic mind. Project your mind into the cosmic mind. Experience as the cosmic experiences. Assume the cosmic mind now. And be one with the one. Soon we'll descend from the heights of the celestial sanctum. We'll take this cosmic attunement with us and its great momentum in living. The back of all forms of consciousness, be it the objective consciousness, the subjective consciousness, is the cosmic consciousness. I invite you now to undertake another spiritual operation of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC by invoking the law of gratitude, which intensifies the application of the law of cosmic attunement and the law of love. I wish to express our thanks now to all those who have taught us well, to all those who have loved us well, to all those who have sacrificed well on our behalf. Now let us begin our descent, traveling at tremendous speed, way beyond the speed of light, past the myriad stars and galaxies, clusters of galaxies, nebula, cosmic web connecting the stars and galaxies, experiencing the harmony of the spheres, the wondrous music of the cosmos, in this temple of the divine. Moving faster and faster. Past the galaxies and stars. See in the distance our home, the Milky Way galaxy, its great spiraling arms. Let us plunge into the great arm where we dwell, past the myriad stars and stellar phenomena, comets and asteroids and rogue planets and planets, black holes helping balance the universe, the nebula, and see in the distance our solar system, the great elliptical orbits of the planets, the great body of the sun, the beauty of the earth. Let us come back to the hemisphere where we left off, to on Earth, the continent, great nation or country, province or state, the county where we dwell, our local geographic area or town or city, our neighborhood. I invite you to say with me before we close this period of meditation, following prayer and invocation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement self with the celestial sanctum, so mote it be. Let us continue down on the building or office, building or home, house where we left off, back where we were situated, lying down or standing. May you wish to stretch and open your eyes, feeling remade, re-energized, reintegrated, regenerated, and rested. When you're ready, may you wish to open your eyes. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll continue on our topic, reincarnation. Do we live again? Now before you'll find various words from the English language, having roots in Latin and Greek. I'll speak some of. The one that's the most common we typically hear is the reincarnation, then transmigration, then metempsychosis, and then palingenesis. Sometimes it's helpful to see different words to give different senses of meaning, different aspects. And if you have different languages that you're fluent in, I think you can often use those to get different nuances or different senses of meaning in addition to those in English. It's helpful in considering this concept of reincarnation that from the Rosicrucian perspective, it has to do with what Rosicrucians refer to as the soul personality, learning lessons from this lifetime, but also in subsequent lifetimes, and even lifetimes before this one. The soul personality can be referred to as the self, and it's an expression of the soul within our bodies. It is the manifestation of our response to an unseparated segment of the universe or one soul. The soul personality can be thought of as the image, and that one soul as the object. So in a way, when we grow and learn, we're polishing a mirror that our soul personality will increasingly be able to reflect all the spiritual qualities of the soul and of the divine. Now, the personality or the soul personality being an image and the reflection of the soul. It's not a perfect image. It needs to reflect itself through encompassing elements of the human organism and its forms of consciousness. But as we learn, as we grow, soul personality more and more is able to perfectly express soul. And in this way, when the Rosicrucians refer to reincarnation, and I'll mention other ways it's viewed in the world as well, it's a doctrine that Rosicrucian students are not expected to hold, but one to take very seriously and reflect on it over time. And it's a doctrine where the soul personality I've just described is reborn in human form again and again after a particular period from the cosmic plane, and then incarnate again. Have the lifetime on earth, the temple of the earth, learning and growing. On the stage first, that all the words the stage for learning. And after death, Rosicrucians refer to as transition, a great initiation. It's time on the cosmic plane to dwell, simulate the lessons, incarnate again. At the time of transition, the soul personality moves, as I've mentioned, to the cosmic plane. Along with the universal soul essence. And there it remains until the right time for another incarnation into another physical body. And each soul personality may incarnate many times. It can be hundreds of times. Now, to the Rosicrucians, reincarnation should not be confused with transmigration. The personality never retrogrades, entering bodies of their animals. Now, this mystical doctrine underlying the necessity of reincarnation is the absorption of the soul personality into the universal mind, the process of perfecting the soul personality, life by life, varied experiences, soul personality unfolds as we become more and more conscious of the cosmic intelligence within us, just as we experienced during our meditation period, and experiencing now. And so when that soul personality perfectly mirrors the soul force, and their perfection is realized. Rosicrucians refer to it as the rose-cross state. And then we're one with the consciousness of the cosmic or cosmic consciousness. Such time rebirths are no longer necessary. Now, the word transmigration, not used by Rosicrucians in general, except refer to some philosophies that refer to human incarnating into the body of an animal, or reincarnating from an animal to an animal. But it's from the word migrate, a Latin, and it's part of an English word. The trans, of course, to mean to migrate again. And the word metempsychosis below it. It's late Latin from the Greek. To undergo metempsychosis, that is, metem and psychosis, to undergo animation again. Passing, in other words, the passing of the soul at death into another body, either human or animal. Also, there's a less common word, but if you study biology, you may be familiar with it, palingenesis. And it's from the Greek palin, to mean again, and the Latin genesis, or to be genesis being the origin or coming into being of something. And each of these can be used to refer to reincarnation in the sense of a human being incarnating over multiple lives. But also they can be used to mean animals reincarnating, incarnating from growing and learning, or from human animal. But as I say again, for the Rosicrucians, they view this reincarnation specifically to one type of creature being to that form again, particularly with the human, human earthly plane, living on earth, learning and growing. Then the time of the transition or passing, letting go of the physical body in the cosmic plane, infinite plane, gathering the lessons together, getting ready to incarnate again, picking up where one left off in illumination and understanding in a new body, gathered from the elements of the earth, what Rosicrucians refer to as the spirit energy, and so forth over time. Now, thinking about this, various traditions associated with these terms and reincarnation, I wanted to show you this particular work of art to give it a larger cultural and historical context. You'll see here a work that's entitled The Second Coming of the Fifth Patriarch. It dates from the mid-1300s by a Chinese artist named Ying Tu Lo, and it was part of a section of a hand scroll. It's a work that you may have seen at the Cleveland Museum of Art. Now, in it, you'll see, if I zoom in a little more for you, that there's a young boy, and he's accompanied by his mother, and he has his hands closed in greeting to an old monk, or an elderly monk, who has a young attendant standing behind him. Now, scholars think that this scene is a meeting between the fourth patriarch of the Chan Buddhism, Daoxing, and this little boy, who's the reincarnation of an older or elderly monk named Zhao Song Dao Shi, or pine planter. Now, the Daoxing, this fourth patriarch of Chan Buddhism, had encountered each other before with the pine planter. And actually advised pine planter to endure or undergo another reincarnation, because he needed more time to reach enlightenment. In a way, they're deeply recognizing each other. And we'll see this in other forms in Tibetan Buddhism, Rinpoches and Dalai Lama and so forth. To give you another example of Buddhism in a historical and cultural context, let me show you a work here that I think may strike a deep chord of familiarity with you. This is a work entitled Yutunde, in parentheses, Reincarnation. It's a work in oil and acrylic from 2022. By the artist Orayo Bukola. It's a work from the Constance and Sons Gallery in Nigeria. And Yutunde, the title of it, means Mother has returned. It has to do with the concept of the Yoruba people, very wise people of Nigeria. Yutunde refers to the daughter born shortly after the passing of a paternal grandmother, or the concept of reincarnation, in other words. But it also shows a great tradition of wisdom to the culture of the world, in this case, Nigeria, the people of Ife. I show you over on the right, one of the wondrous lost wax sculptures cast in bronze and similar metals, and the green coloration from chemical reaction over time. These works date from the 12th to the 15th century. Possibly you've seen some of them in the National Museum in Ife, Nigeria. And the artist has mentioned that what he's trying to convey here is Yutunde, a legacy of justice, and the resurrected queen. It serves as a visual ode to the strength derived from ancestral roots, from our elders down through the centuries. But also the power, self-perception. You see the young women, the royal figures looking straight at us from the depths of their being, to convey to us the depth of the inner sovereign, the master within, and the unyielding embrace of one's true self. And through this artwork, we're encouraged to reflect on our own legacies, and celebrate the multifaceted essence that defines us. We came into a deeper experience when we meditated. Now, spoke earlier of some questions. What are the signs of reincarnation, and what would be convincing to you of it? Well, for some, it's quickly regained talents. People are often surprised about. How did that person gain that musical ability? Pick up mathematics so quickly, or particular languages. Yes, there's strong dedication and work in it, but it can come quickly. Also, there may be a strong familiarity with persons in our lives, or historic figures, or places, or subjects we may have traveled to or seen in books. Have a very deep sense that we've done that before, we've been there before. Sometimes even be able to collaborate it with things that haven't been revealed to us before, that we already know. There's been various scientific, psychological, and sociological studies done in this matters. We also may find that we come into illumination again, quickly early on in our life. We usually leave off where we had reached in an earlier incarnation in our development and experience a master within. We find, especially when we've had illuminative experiences, that a lot of talents flood forward in us, partly through ones that have been highly developed through an earlier incarnation, but also through the illumination itself. And then we find that many things that we knew earlier are coming back to us. And there's new lessons to take up. Sometimes there's maybe 2 or 3 major lessons in our lifetime. Many of the other lessons we're getting in that lifetime are variations on a theme for it. In the Rosicrucian book, Mansions of the Soul, written by past Imperator Ralph M. Lewis, I'll give you resources on, talks about these things and more. Now, does the concept of reincarnation make sense? Well, it can in a great deal, because if we look at life as a school for learning, a classroom for learning, as a inspired teacher, Dr. Lonnie Edwards, used to say, no one lifetime is generally enough to get all the essential lessons of life. And so there's a necessity to have many lifetimes. But this may not be daunting to our lives because, in other sense, because part of this process is to enjoy the process. And we get it through as our illumination as we get more and more sense of the eternity now. We're not so concerned by the vastness of time because we've transcended it. And it's all part of the great adventure in living, to embrace life, embrace the great lessons as Pastor Perder H. Spencer Lewis charged us to do. And indeed, reincarnation is not contrary to the great spiritual traditions of the world, including Christianity. In fact, it can enhance them, help make them more understandable and plausible. So yes, there is a degree of necessity in reincarnation for learning all the lessons that life has to offer. It can also be asked, is reincarnation part of the law of vibration and other laws? I would say very much so. I know, for example, in that book I mentioned by H. Spencer Lewis, Mansions of the Soul, he talks about, on average, the time between incarnations for each of us. This is 144 years. Now, 144 is a beautiful number with very much symbolic or sacred meaning. And it's 12 squared, or 12 times 12. And 12 is an important number in the actions of the universe. We think it, for example, the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 12 months of the year and so forth. It's befitting that 12 squared or 144 would be important in the vibrations, comings and going, incarnating on cosmic plane, incarnating on the cosmic plane. Now, that doesn't mean that from one birth to another, any given person's 144 years, but on average that it is. And the time on the cosmic plane may be 100 years after a period of 44 years, or it may be longer than 100 years after a period of 44, but on average, it's time from incarnation to incarnation, be 144 years. I give that for your consideration, both in the literal sense and symbolic sense. Also, I'll mention the question, do sacred texts refer to reincarnation? And we missed the reference. Indeed, some sacred texts are quite clear and explicit in discussing reincarnation or transmigration. I show you before you a symbolic picture of Philo of Alexandria, a great Jewish exegete and theologian from the antiquity. Now, sacred texts do refer to reincarnation in Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Manichaeanism, for example. Also, some streams of Judaism, which Philo of Alexandria was part of, maintain reincarnation. Also, I could say in the traditional teachings of some First Nations, that is, indigenous peoples, convey reincarnation. Also, traditional teachings of some African nations, we alluded to earlier, maintain reincarnation. Now, the specifics may differ in these various cultures and times, but the concept is essentially there. Also, we find in the esoteric tradition, for example, Pythagoreans and followers of Orpheus maintained doctrines of reincarnation. Indeed, Plato taught reincarnation. His story, for example, the myth of air in the story of the Republic, is a very inspiring and memorable story of reincarnation. Also, in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible, there are references that describe or can reasonably understood to refer to reincarnation. Now, many of these are discussed in the book Mansions of Soul I mentioned earlier. But to give you an example, while we see before us Philo of Alexandria in a new depiction, who talked about reincarnation in his involvement with Judaism. So in Job 33:28, we find there a repentant sinner and I quote, will deliver his soul from going into the pit, and his life shall see the light. And it goes on to say, lo, all these things worketh God oftentimes within man. It goes on further to say, to bring back his soul from the pit, to be enlightened with the light of the living. So many understandably interpret that as a reference to reincarnation. And indeed, there's multiple senses in which the sacred text can be understood, literal, all the way to the historical, the moral, and the mystical or anagogical. Another part of the Christian Bible we'll find in Revelation. It says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. So you see in both, there's a reference to coming back into being incarnated again. There's various other places you can have a look at, and Philo Alexandria outlines those as well as the tech mansions of the soul. I'll give you some references that are of a scholarly nature and quite a detailed book written about Philo Alexandria on reincarnation and some responses from some scholars on that topic. It should be kept in mind too that often in sacred texts, the teachers may or may not make extensive reference to reincarnation because it was something that was understood. And so their allusions to it may be indirect and not their purpose to explicitly teach that doctrine that was well known in their time. We'll find, like Philo Alexander before us, that there were early Christians who taught the doctrine of reincarnation from human to human. Karl Pratkes and Marcellina are early Christians, or give examples. In this manner, then, we've looked at the doctrine of reincarnation. I'll ask Karen at this time to post in the chat some resources for you. The pace of finding, you can click on the links to go to them, but I think you'll find easiest in terms of getting the references is to download the PDF that she's uploading there, and that'll give you all the resources. So by way of conclusion, I'd like to mention that while the present is the most important, and indeed in meditation, we emphasize staying in the present, to examine and learn from the past without regret, but also to plan clearly in our minds without undue anticipatory anxiety or undue anxiety. And being in the present, we can learn from our experiences of the past. Indeed, our weekly studies and exercises of the Rosicrucian Order AMORC allow us to go deeper into the understanding of life and come to our own conclusions about such matters as whether we live again, which we've answered in the affirmative. In this manner, we've considered the doctrine of reincarnation, what its signs are, how it makes sense in our need to be continually learning, perfecting ourselves, how it's part of the law of vibration and other laws, and that sacred texts refer to reincarnation. Sometimes we may have missed them, but they're there as we study the text deeper and deeper. In this way, we've continued to explore Rosicrucian laws and principles and their creative expression and application for the mastery of life, harmonious living and service. At this time, I'll ask Karen to allow you to raise your hand and ask questions. We'll be able to take a few questions around 1/2 the hour. Ella, please come forward and speak with us.
Yes, Father Hugh, how are you? I am wanting to know, because I've asked this before, but I don't know, I'm still unclear. What if we do not want to reincarnate? What happens then?
All right. Well, once from the viewpoint of reincarnation, and that's up for us to understand from your own deep conclusions on these, but there is the need to, from the Rosicrucian perspective, and I think for many mystics to come to a deep understanding of this, is that we need more time to learn. And it's something to it's something to embrace. It's enjoy the life-giving lessons along the way. It's a necessity that we need to accept, like many other necessities, and it's part of the inextricable laws and principles that we learn through the Rosicrucian studies. If one's fearful of anything, as we grow in deeper understanding of it, we'll find that actually in losing that fear of it, we have a tremendous amount of energy released, and we find we're more fully ourselves.
But the question, but can I still ask some more? The thing is,
Okay, one
though,
more.
what if, I mean, I want to expound a little bit more on this, but I'm not clear still. Can I say no? I mean, if I don't want to come back, do I have to come back?
Only if you've learned all the lessons of life.
So
Until
I have
then-
to come back. I have no choice.
Correct.
I
Correct.
see. I see. And so then, but do you get to choose? I mean, I don't understand how we've learned any lessons, because I know what the lessons I've learned in this lifetime, but even though I may have a vague remembrance of past lives, I can't say I learned any lessons. I don't know what they would be, because I wasn't the
Yeah.
same ego, so I don't understand that.
Well, you see, the challenge is, as we pass from one incarnation to others, typically people don't remember that much. There are some exercises in the Rosicrucians to help with that, but part of it is that there's a lot of things that we can take for granted that we've learned and that we don't have to relearn, that were actually from earlier incarnations. So sometimes it can be surprising that way, but you're not having to learn a tremendous amount in any one incarnation. We've learned a lot from earlier that we're taking forward in this incarnation, especially if we particularly show a lot of maturity very early on in our incarnation, particularly if we have an illumination early on in our incarnation. Those are things that we're bringing from our past living. Those aren't sudden givens in that sense. But there's a lot to it, Carmela. I invite you to also to read the Mansions of the Soul, and over subsequent occasions we can keep talking, but we'll let some others address us now as well. And thank you very much for reflecting on these. Take at least one more question. Please come forward to speak with us. Hi.
Good evening, Father Hugh, and thank you very much for the enlightened discussion. I was wondering if there was any correspondence between the 144 years between incarnation and the number 9, or is it mere coincidence?
I know there's a great relationship to it through what's referred to as theosophic addition, I think is what you're doing. You're summing the digits 1 plus 4 plus 4. There are the 9 is a square of 3, 144 is a square of 12. The 3 divides into the 12. So there's a variety of sacred relationships. We know the 9 is the Ennead. After the rebirth of the number 8, there's a continuation, and we find that in the cadence of the 144 with the reincarnations. I think many of you've noted too, possibly the cosmic keyboard spoken of by the Rosicrucians, the great sea of vibrations, the 140, the octaves one after the other, that is spoken of as having 144 octaves. So there's another interpenetrating the laws and principles of the universe. Those are some things, Rohindas, for you to reflect on, and maybe we'll take one more question before we finish up, but feel free to head out if you need to now. Can you come forward and unmute?
Okay, again,
Hi.
thank you, hi. Very interesting. And I also feel like the other soror who's not looking forward to being reincarnated. And I
Yes.
like no to the whole thing, that well, it sounds like, okay, yeah, I gotta accept it, but it's been tough enough in this lifetime. I don't want to do this again.
Well, yeah, okay. What I'll tell you is, like, we can reflect on what have we learned? What are the great loves? How do we wish to continue continue serving. Keep with the noble thoughts. We'll be attracted to time and place in the future to grow and learn. And if we have, fortunately, in this incarnation, learned all the lessons of life, we won't need to reincarnate, but we can still serve from the cosmic plane. But again, embrace the lessons of life now, and there's no need to be fearful. We have more than enough strength when we follow the divine within. Turn to it for its guidance. It sees things from a viewpoint of eternity. While lifetimes can seem like a long time to the outer self, this is just something that the inner self experiences as is relatively short period of time. Indeed, it experiences the eternal now. We need to let that flood more and more into our outer consciousness, and we'll embrace this great adventure in living. That's part of reincarnation for your consideration, but also being on the mystical path, moving towards the mystical union and oneness, and then no longer the need of going out, as spoken of in the book of Revelation. At this time, I want to
thank you. It's been fascinating, but I don't know about this, but thank you anyway.
But take your time with it. See what you think is right for you. And the main thing is to live well today, and the future will take care of itself.
That's true.
Thank
Thank you. I appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.